The day of the TV interview arrived. Rose wore her Sunday dress and put extra care into fixing her hair. The school had given her the day off from cleaning so she could prepare. The news crew set up their equipment in the music room. They filmed Rose playing the piano, then interviewed her about her life story. They asked about her time at the New Orleans Music Academy, her family, and how it felt to have her talent discovered after so many years. "I never stopped being a musician in my heart," Rose told them. "I just couldn't share it for a while." Later, the news crew followed Rose to her lunch hour piano class. 6 students, including James, were waiting for her. The reporter seemed surprised to see the school's football star among the students. "Why are you taking piano lessons from Mrs. Jackson?" the reporter asked James. James looked at Rose with respect in his eyes. "Because she's the best, and because I learned that you shouldn't judge people by what job they have or what they look like. There's more to everyone than what you first see." The reporter smiled at his answer. "And what about that first day, when you and your friends asked her to play as a joke?" James looked down, his face turning red. "I'm not proud of that. But sometimes good things can come even from mistakes, if you learn from them." After filming at the school, they went to the nursing home. The residents were excited to be on TV. Eleanor Winters wore her best dress and had her hair done specially. "Rose has brought music back into our lives," Eleanor told the reporter. "Some of our residents hardly spoke before she started coming here. Now they sing along. They remember songs from their youth. It's like watching flowers bloom again after a long winter." The crew filmed Rose playing for the residents. The camera caught the joy on their faces, the way they moved with the music. There was something special happening in that room that went beyond just playing notes on a piano. When the interview was done, Rose felt tired but happy. The reporter thanked her and promised the story would air the night before the concert. "You're an inspiration, Mrs. Jackson," she said as they left. "Your story will touch many people." That night, Rose's whole family gathered at her house. Her husband George, their daughter Lisa and her husband, their son Michael, who had driven 3 hours to be there, and their 3 grandchildren. Even Grandma Johnson came, bringing her famous sweet potato pie. "I want to see this big TV star in person," Grandma Johnson said with a smile, giving Rose a hug. It was the first time she had hugged Rose in years. As they ate dinner, they talked about the upcoming concert. Rose's youngest grandchild, 7-year-old Zoe, had a question. "Grandma, weren't you scared when those boys were mean to you?" she asked. Rose thought for a moment. "Yes, I was scared. But sometimes being brave isn't about not feeling scared. It's about doing something even when you are scared." "Like when I had to get that shot at the doctor?" Zoe asked. "Exactly like that," Rose said with a smile. After dinner, they all gathered in the living room. George brought out a small wrapped box and handed it to Rose. "We all chipped in," he said. "Open it." Rose unwrapped the gift carefully. Inside was a beautiful silver pin shaped like a piano. "For your concert," Lisa explained. "We thought you could wear it for good luck." Rose touched the pin gently. "It's beautiful. Thank you." As her family talked and laughed around her, Rose felt a deep contentment. For years, she had kept her music locked away, thinking that dream was over. Now, at 58 years old, she was preparing for a concert, teaching students, bringing joy to nursing home residents, and even appearing on TV. Life had taken her on a path she never expected. What had started as a cruel joke had turned into something beautiful. Those boys had meant to humiliate her. Instead, they had set her free. The biggest test was still to come, though. The concert was just days away, and Rose would be playing for hundreds of people. The thought made her stomach tight with nerves. Could she really do it? After all these years, could she perform on a real stage again? The sun was setting outside Westfield High School as Rose Jackson pushed her cleaning cart down the empty hallway. The wheels made a squeaking sound that echoed off the walls. Rose was tired. She had been on her feet since 5 in the morning. First at her part-time job at the diner, Then here at the school where she had worked as a janitor for 15 years. Rose was 58 years old with dark skin, marked by lines of hard work and worry. Her hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and she wore the blue uniform that marked her as part of the cleaning staff. To most people at Westfield High, Rose was just the woman who emptied trash cans and mopped floors. They did not see her as a person with dreams, talents, or a past. They just saw a janitor. "Good evening, Mrs. Jackson," called Mr. Reynolds, one of the few teachers who bothered to learn her name. "Evening, sir," Rose replied with a small smile. She liked Mr. Reynolds. He always treated her like a human being, not just part of the furniture. Rose pushed her cart toward the music room. It was her favorite room to clean. While the students and teachers rushed out at the end of the day, Rose took her time there. She dusted each instrument with care. The guitars hanging on the wall, the shiny brass trumpets, the old drums in the corner. But most of all, she loved the pianos. Tonight, the music room was extra quiet. The school had just bought a brand new grand piano for the upcoming spring concert. It sat in the middle of the room, black and shiny. Rose ran her cleaning cloth over it gently, careful not to scratch the perfect surface. In the back corner sat the old piano. It had been there for more than 20 years. Mr. Peterson, the music teacher, said it was broken and not worth fixing. They were waiting for someone to take it away. "Such a shame," Rose whispered to herself as she looked at the old piano. "You still have music in you, don't you, old friend?" Rose glanced at the clock. It was almost 7. The school was empty now. Even the after-school clubs had gone home. She was alone. She put down her cleaning cloth and walked slowly to the old piano. Her heart beat faster with each step. Rose sat down on the bench and lifted the cover to reveal the keys, some white, some yellow with age. Rose closed her eyes. In her mind, she was not at Westfield High School. She was not a janitor. She was back in New Orleans, in her grandmother's small house, where an old upright piano took up half the living room. "Play from your heart, Rosie," her grandmother used to say. "Let your fingers tell the story your mouth can't speak." Rose's fingers hovered over the keys. It had been so long, more than 30 years since she had really played. Life had gotten in the way. Her mother's illness, the need for money, moving north, marriage, children, bills, dreams put aside. But the music had never left her. It lived inside her, waiting. Rose pressed one key. A clear note rang out in the empty room. Then another, and another. The old piano wasn't as broken as everyone thought. It just needed someone who understood it. She began to play softly, a simple tune her grandmother had taught her. Her fingers remembered the way, moving across the keys like they were coming home after a long journey. Rose didn't notice the tears rolling down her cheeks as she played. For these few minutes, she wasn't invisible. She wasn't just the person who cleaned up after everyone else. She was a musician. She was herself. The sound of a door closing somewhere in the hallway made Rose stop suddenly. She quickly closed the piano cover and stood up, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "Just dreaming again, old woman," she told herself as she went back to her cleaning cart. Just dreaming. But as Rose pushed her cart out of the music room that evening, something had changed. A small fire that had been almost out had started burning again. The music had awakened something inside her, something that had been sleeping for a very long time. What Rose didn't know was that tomorrow, everything would change. The secret she had kept for 15 years was about to come out, and it would start with 3 boys who thought it would be funny to make fun of the school janitor. The night of the spring concert arrived. Westfield High School's auditorium was filled to capacity. Extra chairs had been brought in for people who had seen Rose's story on the news. The TV feature had aired the night before, and the response had been overwhelming. People from all over the city wanted to hear the janitor who played like a concert pianist. Backstage, Rose sat alone in a small room, her hands shaking slightly. She wore a simple black dress that Lisa had helped her pick out. The silver piano pin from her family was fastened at her collar. In her mind, she went over the piece she would play. Chopin's Ballade No. 1 in G minor. It was challenging, but Eleanor had encouraged her to choose something that showed her true ability. There was a knock at the door. Mr. Peterson peeked in. 5 minutes, Mrs. Jackson. How are you feeling? Nervous, Rose admitted. I haven't played for this many people since I was 19 years old. You'll be wonderful, Mr. Peterson said. Just play like you do when you're alone in the music room. After he left, Rose closed her eyes. She thought about how her life had changed in just a few short months. From invisible to seen. From silent to heard. All because 3 boys had tried to make fun of her. Another knock came, softer this time. Rose opened the door to find James standing there. Mrs. Jackson, he said, I just wanted to say thank you. My grandfather is here tonight. He's in a wheelchair in the front row. You told him about me? Rose asked. James nodded. He can't believe I'm learning piano now. Says it's never too late to change your path. He paused. Kind of like you showed all of us. Before Rose could respond, the principal's voice came over the speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage a woman whose talent reminds us all that we should never judge a book by its cover, our own Mrs. Rose Jackson. The audience clapped loudly as Rose walked onto the stage. The lights were bright, making it hard to see faces clearly. Rose sat down at the grand piano, adjusted the bench, and took a deep breath. In the front row, she could make out her family. George was there with their children and grandchildren. Next to them sat Grandma Johnson. She could see Eleanor from the nursing home, brought by Ms. Rodriguez and her sister. Many of the nursing home residents had come too. And there was James, sitting beside an older man in a wheelchair who must be his grandfather. Beyond them were rows and rows of faces, students, teachers, community members, even the news crew, all there to hear her play. Rose placed her hands on the keys. For a moment, doubt crept in. What if she made mistakes? What if she couldn't do it? Then she remembered what she had told her granddaughter. Being brave isn't about not feeling scared. It's about doing something even when you are scared. Rose began to play. The first notes of the ballade filled the auditorium. As she played, the nervousness faded away. There was only the music, beautiful, powerful, flowing from her fingers as if they had never stopped playing all these years. She played with her whole heart, telling her story through the music. The years of setting dreams aside, the quiet longing, the unexpected second chance, the joy of being truly seen. When the final notes faded, there was a moment of complete silence. Then the audience rose to their feet. The applause was deafening. Rose stood and bowed, tears in her eyes. As she looked out at the clapping crowd, Rose saw something she would never forget. In the back of the auditorium stood the school's cleaning staff, the other janitors, cafeteria workers, and maintenance people. They were all clapping and cheering for one of their own. After several bows, Rose walked off stage. Dr. Marilyn Foster from the Community Music Center was waiting for her. Mrs. Jackson, she said, shaking Rose's hand, that was extraordinary. I would be honored if you would consider teaching at our center. We need someone with your talent and heart. Later that night, as Rose sat in her living room surrounded by family and friends celebrating her success, her granddaughter climbed onto her lap. Grandma, Zoe said, are you going to keep cleaning the school now that you're famous? Rose smiled. I'm not famous, sweetheart. And yes, I'll still clean the school. But I'll teach piano too. Both jobs are important in different ways. I'm proud of you, Grandma, Zoe said, hugging her tight. Rose looked around at all the people who loved her, at the new friends and opportunities that had come into her life. One cruel joke had opened a door she thought was closed forever. But it was her courage in walking through that door that had changed everything. Remember, she whispered to Zoe, it's never too late to become who you were meant to be. The weeks passed quickly. Rose's life had changed in ways she never expected. She still cleaned the school, but now students and teachers greeted her by name in the hallways. 3 times a week, she spent her lunch hour teaching James and 5 other students who had asked to learn piano. On Saturdays, she played at the nursing home, where Eleanor Winters had become a dear friend and mentor. The spring concert was now just 2 weeks away. Rose practiced every chance she got. The old piano had been fixed properly and moved to the stage in the auditorium where the concert would take place. One afternoon, as Rose was getting ready to go home, Mr. Peterson came to find her. "Mrs. Jackson," he said, excited, "I have some news. Someone special is coming to the concert." Rose looked up from her cleaning cart. "Who?" "Dr. Marilyn Foster, the director of the Community Music Center downtown. She heard about you and wants to meet you after the concert." Rose's eyes widened. The Community Music Center was well known in the city. They offered music lessons to children who couldn't afford them. "Why does she want to meet me?" Rose asked. Mr. Peterson smiled. "She's looking for piano teachers, good ones who can connect with students from all backgrounds." Rose felt her heart beat faster. A chance to teach piano for real, not just as a volunteer during lunch breaks. "But I don't have a teaching degree," she said. "She cares more about talent and heart than papers," Mr. Peterson said. "Just think about it." That night, Rose couldn't sleep. She got out of bed carefully, trying not to wake George. In the living room, she sat at the small electric keyboard their children had bought her after they heard about her playing at school. It wasn't a real piano, but it had headphones so she could practice at night. Rose put on the headphones and began to play. As her fingers moved over the keys, she thought about the strange path her life had taken. One joke meant to make fun of her had opened a door she thought was closed forever. The next morning, something unexpected happened. As Rose was mopping the floor near the main entrance, a woman in an expensive suit walked in. She looked around, then approached Rose. "Excuse me," the woman said. "I'm looking for Rose Jackson." Rose leaned her mop against the wall. "I'm Rose Jackson." The woman looked surprised. "Oh, I'm Linda Morris from Channel 5 News. We've heard about your story, and we'd love to do a feature on you for our Hidden Talents segment." Rose was shocked. "Me? On TV? Your story is inspiring," Linda said, a classically trained pianist who put her dreams aside to care for her family, now rediscovered after all these years. "Our viewers would love it." Rose didn't know what to say. Part of her wanted to say no. She wasn't looking for fame. But another part thought about all the people who might see it, people who had put their own dreams aside, thinking it was too late. "When would you want to do this?" Rose asked. "We could film you practicing, interview you and some of the students and teachers, maybe even go to the nursing home with you," Linda explained. "Then air it the night before your concert." Before Rose could answer, her phone rang. It was her daughter, Lisa. "Mom," Lisa said, her voice serious. "Grandma Johnson just called. She saw something online about you playing piano at the school." Rose's heart sank. Her mother-in-law, George's mother, had never approved of Rose's fancy music dreams, as she called them. She had always said Rose needed to be practical, to focus on things that paid the bills. "What did she say?" Rose asked. "That's the thing," Lisa said. "She's crying, Mom. Said she wishes she hadn't been so hard on you all those years ago. Said she wants to come to your concert." Rose felt tears in her eyes. Grandma Johnson had never come to anything Rose did, never showed any interest in her life. "She's telling everyone about her talented daughter-in-law," Lisa continued. "Can you believe it?" As Rose hung up the phone, she looked at the news reporter still waiting for her answer. "Yes," she said. "I'll do the interview." Sometimes, Rose thought, second chances weren't just for you. They were for everyone around you, too. Rose sat at the old piano as more students gathered at the music room door. Her heart beat fast in her chest. It had been so long since she had played in front of anyone. Her hand shook slightly as she placed them on the keys. James, Tyler, and Damon stood nearby. phones ready to record what they thought would be a funny moment. They expected her to hit a few wrong notes, make some horrible sounds, and give up. Then they would have a good laugh and a video to share. "I'm waiting for my concert, cleaning lady," James said with a smirk. Some students laughed, but others looked uncomfortable. Rose took a deep breath. She thought about walking away. It would be easier. But something inside her, a fire that had started burning again, wouldn't let her. She closed her eyes for a moment, thinking about what to play. And then Rose's fingers began to move. The first notes of Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major filled the room. Soft, gentle, and perfect. The supposedly broken piano responded to her touch like it had been waiting years for hands that understood it. The smiles on the boys' faces froze. The laughter stopped. The room became completely quiet except for the beautiful music flowing from Rose's fingers. She played with her eyes closed at first, letting the music take her back to her younger days. Back to the time when she practiced for hours at the New Orleans Music Academy. Back when everyone said she had a gift, that she was special. When Rose opened her eyes, she saw that more people had come into the room. Mr. Peterson, the music teacher, stood in the doorway with his mouth open in surprise. Next to him was Ms. Rodriguez, the Spanish teacher. Some of the other cleaning staff had heard the music and stopped to listen too. James had lowered his phone. He wasn't recording anymore. He just stood there, watching and listening with a confused look on his face. Tyler and Damon looked at each other, not sure what to do or say. Rose's fingers danced across the keys, bringing the old piano back to life. The melody rose and fell, telling a story of beauty and sadness, of dreams put aside but not forgotten. Everyone in the room could feel it. This was not just someone playing notes. This was art. As she played the final notes, the room stayed silent for a moment. Then Mr. Peterson began to clap. Others joined in, and soon the whole room was filled with applause. Rose stood up quickly, not used to this kind of attention. Her cheeks felt warm, and she didn't know where to look. "Mrs. Jackson," Mr. Peterson said, walking toward her, that was incredible. Where did you learn to play like that?" Rose smoothed her uniform with nervous hands. "I studied piano when I was young," she said softly. "At the New Orleans Music Academy." "The New Orleans Music Academy." Mr. Peterson's eyes widened. "That's one of the best music schools in the country. Were you going to be a concert pianist?" Rose nodded slowly. That was the plan. A long time ago. The students and teachers looked at Rose with new eyes. Not as the invisible cleaning lady, but as someone with an amazing talent, someone with a story. "What happened?" asked a girl standing near the door. "Why didn't you become a pianist?" Rose looked at all the faces watching her. They were actually interested. They wanted to know about her life. After 15 years of working at this school, being walked past and looked through, they finally saw her. "Life happened," Rose said simply. "My mother got sick. I needed money more than I needed dreams. Then I met my husband, had children." She shrugged. "Time passes quickly when you're taking care of others." James stepped forward. His face was red, and he couldn't meet Rose's eyes. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "We didn't know." "No," Rose said. "You didn't ask." The bell rang, signaling 5 minutes until first period. Students began to move, knowing they needed to get to class. But they moved slowly, stealing glances back at Rose, the janitor they had never really seen before. Mr. Peterson put his hand gently on Rose's shoulder. "Mrs. Jackson, would you consider playing again? Perhaps for our music class?" Before Rose could answer, the principal's voice came over the school's speaker system. "Mr. Peterson, please come to the office immediately. And bring Mrs. Jackson with you." Everyone looked at Rose. What was going to happen now? News about Rose spread quickly through Westfield High and beyond. By the end of the week, a reporter from the local newspaper called the school asking to do a story about the janitor with the amazing piano skills. A video that someone had taken of Rose playing that first morning had been shared hundreds of times online. Dr. Williams set up a special schedule for Rose. She would clean the school early in the morning and after school let out. During lunch and free periods, she could use the music room to practice. The old piano that everyone thought was broken was moved to a small room next to the music classroom, where Rose could play without interruptions. On Friday afternoon, Rose was cleaning the hallway when she heard someone call her name. She turned to see Ms. Rodriguez, the Spanish teacher, walking toward her. "Mrs. Jackson," Ms. Rodriguez said, "I've been looking for you. I have something to ask." Rose leaned on her mop, waiting. "My sister works at Oak Ridge Nursing Home," Ms. Rodriguez explained. "They have a piano there that no one plays anymore. She heard about you and wondered if you might come play for the residents sometime. Many of them don't have family who visit. Music would mean so much to them." Rose thought about it. The idea of playing for strangers made her nervous, but also excited. It would be good practice before the big concert. "I could come on Saturday," Rose said, "after I finish my shift at the diner." Ms. Rodriguez smiled brightly. "That would be wonderful. I'll tell my sister." The next day, Rose stood outside Oak Ridge Nursing Home feeling nervous. She wore her best dress, a simple blue one she usually saved for church. In her bag was a folder of sheet music she had found in her old box of memories. At the front desk, a young woman greeted her warmly. "You must be Mrs. Jackson. I'm Elena, Ms. Rodriguez's sister. Thank you so much for coming. Everyone is waiting in the common room." Rose followed Elena down a long hallway. The smell of medicine and cleaning products reminded her of when her mother was sick. They passed rooms where elderly people sat in wheelchairs or lay in beds, some watching TV, others just staring out windows. The common room was large with big windows that let in afternoon sunlight. About 20 residents were gathered there, sitting in chairs and wheelchairs arranged in a half circle around an old upright piano. Some looked alert and interested. Others seemed lost in their own thoughts. "Everyone," Elena announced, "this is Mrs. Jackson. She's going to play some music for us today." Rose walked to the piano, feeling all eyes on her. She sat down, adjusted the bench, and placed her hands on the keys. After a deep breath, she began to play. She started with "Moon River," a song her mother had loved. The notes filled the room, and Rose noticed some of the residents beginning to smile. An old man in the front row closed his eyes, his foot tapping gently to the rhythm. Rose moved on to other songs, old standards that she thought they might know. "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," "What a Wonderful World," "Unforgettable." With each song, more residents became engaged. Some hummed along. A few even sang the words softly. Between songs, Rose heard a quiet voice. "Could you play some Chopin?" She looked up to see an elderly woman with white hair and bright eyes watching her intently. "You know Chopin?" Rose asked, surprised. The woman nodded. "I was a piano teacher for 40 years. The Nocturne in E-flat major was always my favorite." Rose smiled. It was the very piece she had played that first morning at school. She began to play, her fingers finding the familiar notes. The room grew completely silent except for the beautiful melody. When she finished, the woman had tears in her eyes. "Beautiful," she whispered. "Simply beautiful." After playing for an hour, Rose noticed that some residents who had seemed distant and uninterested at first were now fully present, watching her with clear eyes. Music had reached places that words couldn't. As she was leaving, the elderly woman who had requested Chopin took her hand. "My name is Eleanor Winters," she said. "I haven't touched a piano in years because of my arthritis. But listening to you today, it brought it all back. Would you come again?" Rose felt tears in her eyes. "Yes," she said. "I'd like that very much." On the bus ride home, Rose realized something important. Music wasn't just for concerts and applause. It was a gift to be shared, a way to connect hearts, and she had been given a second chance to do just that. Rose and Mr. Peterson walked down the hallway toward the principal's office. Students who had heard about what happened in the music room stopped to look at Rose. Some smiled. Others whispered to their friends. Rose kept her eyes on the floor, not used to so much attention. "Don't worry," Mr. Peterson said kindly. "Dr. Williams is a good man. I'm sure he just wants to talk about what happened." Rose nodded, but her stomach felt tight. In her 15 years at Westfield High, she had never been called to the principal's office. What if she was in trouble for using the piano without permission? What if someone complained? She needed this job. They reached the office, and the secretary waved them in right away. Dr. Williams, a tall man with gray hair and glasses, stood up from behind his desk when they entered. "Mrs. Jackson, please have a seat," he said, pointing to a chair. Rose sat down, folding her hands in her lap. She noticed her fingernails had cleaning fluid stains on them. She quickly tucked her hands under her legs. "I've been hearing some interesting stories this morning," Dr. Williams said, "about our old piano that was supposed to be broken." "Sir, if I did something wrong by playing it," Rose began. Dr. Williams held up his hand. "Wrong. Mrs. Jackson, from what I hear, you did something amazing." He turned to Mr. Peterson. "Is it true? Is she really that good?" Mr. Peterson nodded eagerly. "Better than good, sir. She's extraordinary. Classically trained at the New Orleans Music Academy. Her technique is flawless." Dr. Williams looked at Rose with new eyes. "Is this true? You studied at the Music Academy?" "Yes, sir," Rose said quietly. "A long time ago. For 3 years." "And then you became—" Dr. Williams paused, seeming to search for the right words. "A janitor," Rose finished for him. "Yes, sir. Life takes unexpected turns sometimes." There was silence in the room. Then Dr. Williams leaned forward in his chair. "Mrs. Jackson, our spring concert is in 6 weeks. We were going to feature some of our best student musicians and a few teachers. But now I'm thinking." He looked at Mr. Peterson, who nodded in agreement. "Would you consider performing?" Rose's eyes widened. "Me? Play the concert? In front of everyone?" "Absolutely," Dr. Williams said. "We would be honored." Rose's heart beat fast. Part of her wanted to say yes right away, but another part of her was afraid. It had been so long. What if she made mistakes? What if people laughed? I don't know," she said. "I would need to practice. A lot. And I only have breaks, and after my shift." "We can arrange something," Dr. Williams said quickly. "You could have access to the music room during your lunch break, and maybe we could adjust your schedule a bit." Rose thought about it. The idea of playing on a real stage again made her both excited and nervous. "Could I think about it?" she asked. "Of course," Dr. Williams said. "Take your time. Just let us know by the end of the week." As Rose and Mr. Peterson left the office, they found the hallway unusually crowded. Word had spread quickly through the school. Students and teachers alike wanted to catch a glimpse of Rose Jackson, the janitor who played like a concert pianist. "Mrs. Jackson," called a voice. Rose turned to see Melissa Chen, a senior who was the top piano student at Westfield High. Would you be willing to give me some tips sometime? Your playing technique is amazing." Before Rose could answer, another voice called out, "Is it true you studied in New Orleans? My grandmother was from there." More questions came from all directions. People who had never noticed Rose before now wanted to talk to her, to know her story. Mr. Peterson saw the overwhelmed look on Rose's face and stepped in. "All right, everyone. Mrs. Jackson needs to get back to work, and you all need to get to class. There will be time for questions later." As the crowd dispersed, Mr. Peterson turned to Rose. "Things are going to be different for you now," he said with a smile. Rose nodded, still trying to take it all in. Just this morning, she had been invisible. Just the cleaning lady. Now, people knew her name. They saw her differently. They saw her. As she walked back to her cleaning cart, Rose thought about the concert. Could she really do it? Could she find the courage to play in front of hundreds of people after all these years? A small voice inside her whispered, "Yes, this is your second chance." That evening, Rose sat at her small kitchen table, a cup of tea growing cold in front of her. Her husband, George, listened carefully as she told him about her day. "They want me to play at the spring concert, George," Rose said, still not fully believing it herself. "The principal himself asked me." George reached across the table and took her hand. His fingers were rough from years of construction work. "You should do it, Rose. You've got a gift. Always have." Rose looked down at their joined hands. "I don't know. It's been so long." "Remember when we first met?" George asked with a smile. "At that little church in New Orleans. You were playing the piano then. That's when I fell in love with you." Rose smiled at the memory. "I was playing Amazing Grace." "And it was amazing," George said, "just like you." Their conversation was interrupted by the ringing of the phone. It was their daughter, Lisa. "Mom," Lisa said, her voice excited. "Is it true? My friend's son goes to Westfield High, and he just texted her about a janitor who played piano like a professional." "That was you, wasn't it?" Rose was surprised. News travels fast. "Mom, this is wonderful. Why didn't you ever tell us you were so good?" Rose sighed. "It was from another life, honey, before you were born." "Well, I want to hear you play. We all do. The kids too." After talking with Lisa, Rose went to the small closet in their bedroom. In the back, behind winter coats and old shoes, was a box she hadn't opened in years. She pulled it out and sat on the edge of the bed. Inside were yellowing papers, her music certificates, old programs from recitals, newspaper clippings from her days at the music academy. There was a faded photo of Rose as a young woman, sitting at a grand piano, her face full of hope and dreams. "Look at you," George said softly from the doorway. "You were on your way to something big." Rose touched the photo gently. "Maybe. But then life had other plans." The next morning, Rose arrived at Westfield High earlier than usual. She wanted to have some time with the piano before everyone arrived. To her surprise, she found James, the boy who had started the whole thing as a joke, waiting by the music room door. "Mrs. Jackson," he said, looking nervous, "can I talk to you for a minute?" Rose nodded, unlocking the door. James followed her into the music room. "I wanted to say sorry again," he said, hands in his pockets. What I did, it wasn't right." Rose looked at the young man. He seemed truly sorry. "Thank you for saying that, James. The thing is," James continued, "my grandfather was a jazz pianist in Chicago. He tried to teach me, but I never took it seriously. Now he has arthritis and can't play anymore. He always says his biggest regret is that no one in the family carried on his music." Rose was surprised by this confession. "I didn't know that." "No one here does," James said. "I don't talk about it. It's easier to be the football guy." He paused. "Anyway, I was wondering, would you maybe teach me? Not to be great like you, but just enough to play something for my grandfather before He didn't finish the sentence, but Rose understood. She thought about all the years she had watched this boy in the hallways, loud, confident, sometimes unkind. She never imagined he carried this wish inside him. "I'd be happy to show you some basics," Rose said, "if you're serious about learning." James nodded eagerly. "I am. And there are others too. After what happened yesterday, a bunch of students were talking. They want to know if you might start a piano club or something. Not just the music kids, regular kids too." Rose felt a warmth spreading through her chest. For years, she had kept her talent hidden, thinking that part of her life was over. Now suddenly, there was a chance to share it again. "I'll think about it," she said. "But first, I need to practice. I have a concert to prepare for." James smiled. "So you're going to do it? Play in the spring concert?" Rose sat down at the piano and ran her fingers lightly over the keys. "Yes," she said, surprising herself with her certainty. "Yes, I am." Monday morning came with gray clouds and light rain. Rose arrived at Westfield High School at her usual time, 7:30, 1 hour before the first bell. She needed to check the bathrooms and make sure the hallways were clean before students filled the building. As Rose mopped the floor near the front entrance, she heard loud voices and laughter. She looked up and saw 3 boys walking in, shaking raindrops from their jackets. Rose knew them well. James Wilson, the tall one with blonde hair, was the football team captain. Next to him was Tyler Brown, whose father was on the school board. The third boy was Damon Carter, who always had the newest phone and the most expensive shoes. These boys were trouble, not the kind that broke things or got into fights. No, they were the kind who thought they were better than everyone else. The kind who never said thank you when Rose cleaned up their messes. Rose kept her head down and moved her mop to the side. She hoped they would walk past without noticing her. "Hey, check it out. The cleaning lady's here early," James said, his voice louder than it needed to be. The other boys laughed. Rose did not look up. She kept mopping, moving slowly away from them. "Don't you ever get tired of cleaning up after everyone?" Tyler asked, stepping onto the wet floor with his muddy shoes. Rose bit her lip and said nothing. This was not new. She had learned long ago that some people would always see her uniform first and her humanity second, or not at all. "I bet she dreams about mops and cleaning sprays," Damon joked. He pretended to dance with an invisible mop. The boys laughed again. Rose finished mopping that section and pushed her cleaning cart toward the next hallway. The boys followed her, still laughing and making jokes. She tried to ignore them, but they were like mosquitoes that wouldn't go away. As they passed the music room, James suddenly had an idea. "Hey, cleaning lady, let's see you in here for a minute." Rose stopped. She knew she should keep walking, but something made her turn around. Maybe it was the way they called her cleaning lady instead of her name. Maybe it was because she was tired of being invisible. "My name is Mrs. Jackson," she said quietly but firmly. The boys looked surprised. They were not used to the cleaning staff talking back. "Okay, Mrs. Jackson," James said with a fake polite voice. "Would you please step into the music room? We want to show you something." Rose followed them into the room, keeping a safe distance. The new piano stood in the center, covered with a black cloth to protect it. The old piano was still in the corner, waiting to be taken away. "You know," James said, walking toward the old piano, "Mr. Peterson says this piano is broken. No one can play it anymore." He lifted the cover to show the keys. "It's junk," Tyler added. "They're throwing it out next week." Rose looked at the old piano. She remembered how it had sounded last Friday when she played it. It wasn't broken. It just needed someone who cared. "We were thinking," James said with a smile that wasn't kind, "since you like cleaning things up, maybe you could try to fix it." "Yeah," Damon added, taking out his phone. "Why don't you play something for us? Maybe you can clean up the sound." He held up his phone, ready to record. Rose understood now. This was a joke to them. They wanted to film her failing to play the piano so they could laugh about it later. They wanted to make fun of her, the old black cleaning lady who they thought knew nothing about music. She should walk away. She should get back to her work. That's what they expected her to do. But Rose thought about the music that had been sleeping inside her for so long. She thought about her grandmother's words, "Let your fingers tell the story your mouth can't speak." Rose put down her cleaning cloth and walked toward the piano. The boys looked surprised again. They had expected her to say no or to walk away embarrassed. "You want me to play this piano?" Rose asked, her voice stronger than before. "Yeah, show us what you got, cleaning lady," James said with a smirk. As Rose sat down on the bench, more students began to gather at the door. They wanted to see what was happening. They wanted to watch the joke unfold. What they didn't know was that the joke was about to backfire in the most beautiful way.